Welcome to Jazz Piano Skills. I'm Dr. Bob Lawrence. It's time to discover, learn, and play jazz piano. Here we go. Another Tuesday. Is it me or do these weeks fly by? Man, I was always told as a kid that the older you get, the faster time passes. Well, I'm here to say that I must be incredibly old because Tuesdays seem to roll around at lightning speed. Wow. Well, if you are a regular listener to Jazz Piano Skills, you know that every Tuesday we take a dive into a specific and essential aspect of playing jazz piano. Technique, transcriptions, tunes, and today it's theory. Yes, today is Theory Tuesday. So today we are going to explore the harmonic minor modes. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I have been asked if I was planning on doing some episodes on modes. And likewise, I cannot begin to tell you how many times over the past 35 years of teaching that I have been asked if I teach modes. Modes are always, at least in my experience, mentioned and discussed as if they are some form of Egyptian hieroglyphics that, if successfully and properly decoded, unlock the keys, the mysteries of what it takes to become an accomplished jazz musician, which totally cracks me up because modes are simply an explanation of the origin of musical sound, which I will discuss in more detail a little later. The other attraction for students to the study of modes is that it makes us sound smart, right? We love throwing around language that sounds smart. So in jazz circles, you will hear terms like tritone substitutions, polychords, pentatonic scales, and of course, modes. Fancy schmancy names that are indeed very impressive sounding, right? Especially when you're asked by family and friends, what are you studying in your music lessons? Throwing out any one of those terms, right, especially modes, will quickly quiet any doubters questioning the seriousness of your jazz pursuit. So regardless of the reasoning behind your attraction to modes, whether you think of them as some kind of lofty musical hieroglyphics, or if you just like to throw the term around to sound musically smart, take comfort in knowing that today you will gain an accurate conceptual understanding of the harmonic minor modes. In addition to that, you'll actually gain a productive practice approach to the harmonic minor modes as well. But before we discover, learn, and play the harmonic minor modes, I want to, as I always do at the beginning of every Jazz Piano Skills episode, take just a second to personally invite all new first-time listeners, plus all old-timers, to join Jazz Piano Skills. Simply go to JazzPianoSkills.com, select a membership plan that's right for you, and click on the Join link. Easy. Once you're a Jazz Piano Skills member, you will have instant and full access to all of the ever-growing and evergreen educational content and resources. Here is what you can immediately access as a Jazz Piano Skills member and begin using to maximize your musical growth. You will have immediate access to all of the educational podcast guides, the illustrations, the lead sheets, the play-along tracks. You will have access to the interactive curriculum courses, right? It's a sequential jazz piano curriculum. You have access to all the courses. You have access to the weekly masterclass, the live 1-hour masterclass that I host every Thursday evening. You can join every week. You will also have access to the private Jazz Piano Skills community, the skills-specific forums, plus the social Facebook group. And of course, you have access to personal and professional support 24/7, provided by me, literally. I'm available 24/7. It feels like that, right? I'm serious. So anyway, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, if you are indeed serious about developing the jazz piano skills needed for you to become an accomplished jazz pianist, then take immediate action and become a Jazz Piano Skills member now, and begin taking advantage of all of the educational content, the materials, the resources, and of course the professional support. There are several membership plans to choose from, so you can definitely find one that is going to be a great fit for you, right? You can become a member for a month if you just simply want to try it out. There's also a quarterly membership plan, and of course, there is an annual membership plan as well. All three plans, regardless of which one you choose, will grant you full access to all of the educational materials, all the educational content, the resources, and the professional support. Check everything out at JazzPianoSkills.com. If you have any questions, please let me know. Sincerely, I am happy to spend time with you by phone, through SpeakPipe, or email to help you determine which Jazz Piano Skills membership plan is best for you. All right, let's dive in to Theory Tuesday. Today, you are going to discover the harmonic minor modes. You are going to learn how to study and practice the harmonic minor modes. And you are going to play the harmonic minor modes from the root to the seventh of each sound. So regardless of where you are in your jazz journey, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate player, an advanced player, or even an experienced professional, you will find this Jazz Piano Skills podcast lesson exploring the harmonic minor modes to be very insightful, to be very beneficial. Okay, if you take away one thing and one thing only from this podcast episode, let it be this: that modes, all modes, major modes, melodic minor modes, harmonic minor modes, all modes, are ways to explain the origin of musical sound. Modes explain where the pure musical sounds come from: major, dominant, minor, half diminished, and diminished. And modes explain where the variants of those musical sounds, alterations of the musical sounds, like flat 9, sharp 11, flat 5, sharp 5, flat 13, and so on. Where do all those sounds come from? So I want to say this again. All modes, major modes, melodic minor modes, harmonic minor modes, are ways to simply explain the origin of musical sound. Modes are not an advanced improvisational approach like so many novice jazz musicians are led to believe. If this has been or currently is your impression or understanding of modes, then I want you to right now and forevermore, flush it from your thinking. I have good news for you. Today is going to be a musically liberating day. Very exciting indeed. So now that I have established that modes, again, all modes, are ways to explain the origin of musical sound, I want to ask you a very important question. A classic chicken or the egg question. Are you ready? Here's my question. Is it best to learn the musical sounds first and then study their origin, the modes? Or is it better to study modes first in order to discover the musical sounds? Right? What a good question. Let me ask that again. Is it best to learn the musical sounds first and then study their origin, the modes? Or is it better to study modes first in order to discover the musical sounds? Well, before I tell you what I believe, which I will do a little later in this podcast episode, let me tell you the process, the path that most aspiring jazz musicians are led down. Most aspiring jazz musicians are introduced to the modes first without having a conceptual and or functional understanding of what the musical sounds are or what musical sounds even exist. In other words, they experience a modes first, sounds second approach, rather than a sounds first, modes second approach. Here are a few more questions, important questions for you to answer. How many musical sounds are there in music? What are the primary sounds of music? Are there any variants to the major sound? Are there any variants to the dominant sound? What about the minor sounds? Any alterations or variants there? What about the altered half diminished sounds? Do those exist? Are there any variants or altered diminished sounds? These are pretty important questions that every aspiring jazz musician should be in search of the answers. Unfortunately, most aspiring jazz musicians are not even aware of the right questions to ask. Sad, right? Because if you do not know the questions, the right questions, there's no way you're going to get the right answers. How is it that an aspiring jazz musician does not know the correct questions to ask? The explanation is simple. It's because they begin their journey to becoming an accomplished musician with the incorrect understanding of what the study of music is all about. In fact, when I ask a student, what is music the study of? They go speechless. I find this to be incredibly fascinating because how can you possibly want to study music while at the same time you are uncertain as to what music is the study of? Right? How do you want to study anything if you don't know what it's the study of? So many questions to answer today, and we certainly will. And when it's all said and done, you will probably more than likely have even more questions to needing to be answered. And that is precisely why I am so committed to providing all Jazz Piano Skills members immediate and professional educational support. If you are listening to this podcast through the Jazz Piano Skills website, you can use the incredibly convenient SpeakPipe widget nestled directly beneath the podcast player to send me a voicemail message. It's that easy. It's that simple. One click, and the two of us are interacting with one another. Send me a voicemail message with your questions, and I will send you one back with the answers. Very cool technology. And if you're listening to this podcast, to the Jazz Piano Skills podcast on iHeartRadio or Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Amazon Music, or any of the other popular podcast directories that are out there, you can just simply use the link speakpipe.com/JazzPianoSkills to send me a quick message. And as I always say, if you are a scaredy cat and are afraid to send me a voicemail message, then you can post your question in the private Jazz Piano Skills forum or the private Jazz Piano Skills Facebook group and let the Jazz Piano Skills community help you. Look directly beneath the SpeakPipe widget and you will see the links for easy access to each of these platforms. Or if you are free on Thursday evening, every week, Thursday evening, attend the Jazz Piano Skills Masterclass that I host every Thursday evening. Join me online, 8 o'clock. It's through Zoom. I know you are familiar with Zoom. Join me online, 8 p.m. Central Time, using the Zoom link that is posted on the Jazz Piano Skills website, and get your questions answered face-to-face, not only by me, but by all the participants in the masterclass as well. So I provide you with so many ways to get help, Jazz Piano Skills members. I provide you so many ways to get help, so please definitely take advantage of the opportunities. As you know, my entire goal is to provide you with the very best jazz piano lessons, the very best jazz piano educational materials, and the very best jazz piano support that is available anywhere today. Okay, so let's answer those all-important questions that I just asked. Question 1. What is music the study of? Answer: music is the study of sound. Question 2. How many sounds are there in music? Answer: there are 5 primary sounds in music. They are major, dominant, minor, half diminished, and diminished. Question 3. How many variants of the major sounds are there in music? Answer: 5. 2 produced by the major modes, 2 produced by the harmonic minor modes, and 1 from the melodic minor modes. Question 4. How many variants of the dominant sounds are there in music? Answer: 5. 1 from major modes, 1 from harmonic minor modes, 3 from melodic minor modes. Question 5. How many variants of the minor sounds are there in music? Answer: 7. 3 from the major modes, 2 from the harmonic minor modes, 2 from the melodic minor modes. Question 6. How many variants of the half diminished sounds are there in music? Answer: 3. 1 from major modes, 1 from harmonic minor modes, 1 from melodic minor modes. Question 7. How many variants of the diminished sounds are there in music? Answer: 1. 0 from major modes, 1 from harmonic minor modes, and 0 from melodic minor modes. These are all great questions with very precise and direct answers, as all answers to questions should be. Great questions coupled with precise and direct answers are always liberating. See? Having the correct understanding of music, of what music is the study of, leads to asking essential questions and searching for transformational answers, answers that actually transform your musicianship. Now that you know that music is the study of sound, and Now that you know there are 5 primary sounds, major, dominant, minor, half diminished, and diminished, and now that you know there are variants or alterations to these sounds, you are ready to study modes, to understand where these sounds and their variants, alterations, come from. Remember what I said at the beginning of this podcast episode? Modes are simply an explanation of the origin of musical sound. So now we are ready to take a look at some modes. We are ready to see what sounds and variants to those sounds that are generated by the harmonic minor scale. To do this, we are going to use the C harmonic minor scale today. But before the fun begins, I want all Jazz Piano Skills members to hit the pause button right now and download and print the podcast illustration guide that you have access to. You are going to want this guide in front of you as we go through this lesson, as we go through the harmonic minor modes. Right? The illustration guide diagrams not only the harmonic minor modes for C that we're going to be going through today, but the harmonic minor modes for all 12 keys. It's an invaluable illustrations to have at your fingertips as you study and practice the harmonic minor modes, right? So no doubt the illustrations are going to help you maximize your musical growth, both conceptually and physically. Okay? All right, so here we go. First, the harmonic minor scale is simply the major scale with the 3rd and the 6th flatted. So you construct the C harmonic minor scale by simply taking the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, and flatting the 3rd and the 6th. So now we get C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B. That's it. That's it. Now, to create the modes of this scale, of the C harmonic minor scale, we are going to play the scale starting from each note of the scale. In other words, we are going to play the 7 notes of the scale, the mode, launching from the note C, then from the note D, and then from the note E, and so on. So mode 1 starts with the note C, right? We just played it, right? So now that sound, the sound that mode produces is what we call a C minor major 7th or sharp 7. So the chord C, E flat, G, B natural. It's a great sound, right? So it's kind of like a hybrid. It's a minor triad on the bottom with a major 7th on the top. If we play that mode on top of that, so when you run across in a piece of music, you see a chord symbol for C minor sharp 7 or C minor major 7, right? You know where that sound comes from. It's the first mode of the harmonic minor scale. So what I want to do is bring the ensemble in right now, and I'm going to practice that mode. And you're going to see that I'm going to just practice it from the root to the 7th, ascending and descending. Nothing fancy. What I'm simply wanting to do is to process and digest that musical sound, the minor major 7 sound. So I'm going to use a simple fusion groove, right? Nothing fancy there either. In fact, I use this groove because it's a straight eighth note feel as opposed to a classic jazz swing eighth note feel. I don't know, it's just my preference. I like using a straight eighth note feel whenever I'm in processing mode, when I want to just play the scale. I'm trying to get a sound under my fingers and my ears and processed conceptually as well. So let's bring the ensemble in. Let's check it out. C minor major 7, mode 1 of the harmonic minor scale. Mode 1. Here we go. Let's check it out. Great sound. A sound that is rarely used, quite honestly. You're not going to run across it often, right? But you are going to run across it. So when you do, you now are familiar with that sound, and you also know its origin, right? Okay, so now let's go to mode 2. Right? So now we're going to play that same scale, the C harmonic minor scale, but we're going to play that scale starting now on the note D. If we take every other note of that mode, we get D, F, A flat, C. A D half diminished chord. So I'm going to play D half diminished in my left hand. I'm going to play that mode in my right hand. Fits like a glove. Listen again. It's a great sound. Now this one you will use quite a bit, especially when we play minor 2 5 1s. Okay, this minor 7 flat 5 or is very common. So let's bring the ensemble in, and again I'm going to keep things very simple. I'm going to just practice the sound from the root to the 7th and back down, digesting that half diminished, that minor 7 flat 5 sound, getting used to that mode conceptually, physically, and orally. Nothing fancy. So here we go. Let's bring the ensemble in and let's listen to the second mode of the harmonic minor scale. Here we go. Classic. Great sound, a mode that you will need to become very familiar with. You're going to run across this often. Again, especially when you're playing a minor 2 5 1 progression. So now let's go on to the third mode of the harmonic minor scale. So we're going to start our play our scale starting on the third note, which is the E flat. So now our harmonic minor scale sounds like this. If we take every other note of that mode, we get the E flat, G, B natural, and a D natural. Right? So we have in our hands now an E flat major sharp 5 sound or augmented sound. So I'm going to play that chord in my left hand. Ooh, and I'm going to play that mode. Again. So let's bring the ensemble in and let's listen to E flat major sharp 5, the third mode of the C harmonic minor scale. Let's check it out and see what we think. Here we go. Very nice. Now you will run into major sharp 5 chords quite often. They exist. So you need to know how to handle them. Now you can immediately kind of go to the academic route like we're doing today and go, okay, what mode is that? You know, again, the street musician, if you will simply take the major scale, the E flat major scale, and go, oh, I have to sharp the 5. Right? Same results, but without jumping through all the hoops, the academic hoops of understanding modes. Both sides say the same thing, right? The street musician, the academic musician, both get to the same result. They may come at it differently, but they get to the same result because they're dealing with musical sound. Okay, so either way, the major sharp 5 sound, very common. Need to know how to handle that when you come across it in playing jazz literature. So now, let's go on to the fourth mode of the harmonic minor scale. So now we're going to start on the fourth, on the note F. So our mode. If we take every other note, F, A flat, C, E flat. Pretty straightforward. F minor 7. Chord in the left hand, mode in the right hand. Gotta be honest, never use it. Never use this mode. I never use this sound. Because I'm always treating that minor as as a Dorian or a Phrygian or Aeolian, as a 2, 3, or 6 within a key. But nevertheless, it's a different little twist on a minor 7. You may find it to be very beneficial. So either way, let's bring in the ensemble. Let's listen to the fourth mode of the harmonic minor scale and see what we think. Here we go. Check it out. Nice. Again, not sure if you're going to use it often. Like I said, I never do. But you may find that you like that sound and find very situations that you enjoy using it. So let's move on to the fifth mode. And now this mode I use all the time. It's one of my favorite sounds in all of music. It's the dominant flat 9, flat 13 sound. So if we take our C harmonic minor scale, we start on the fifth on the G, and now play that mode. The first, third, fifth, and seventh of that mode create the G dominant 7 chord. So I'm going to play that in my left hand, and I'm going to play the mode in my right hand. I love this mode. I use that all the time. And again, you know, the street musician may just think of that as the G dominant scale. And now I'm going to flat my 9, flat my 13, right? It's just another way, a quick way of thinking about it as opposed to trying to go through the mode to get to that sound. Either way, doesn't matter how you get there, just get there. This is a great sound that you will use often, an altered dominant sound with the flat 9, flat 13. So let's bring the ensemble in and let's check out this gorgeous sound. Here we go. What a great sound, right? Spend some time with this one because you're going to use it a lot. Hey, just a reminder, if you are a JazzPianoSkills member, you can access and download the educational guides, all 3 of the educational guides for this episode, devoted to exploring the harmonic minor modes. And for those of you that are new to JazzPianoSkills, I design and I create 3 educational podcast guides for every JazzPianoSkills podcast episode to help you maximize your musical growth. The illustration guide, which I already mentioned earlier, there's also the lead sheet guide and the play-along guide. And the illustration guide, as I mentioned, arms you with detailed diagrams of the jazz piano skill that we are studying, right? And does so in all 12 keys when necessary. As the old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. The lead sheet guide uses traditional musical notation to present the jazz piano skill, again, typically in all 12 keys, so you can have them sitting on your piano to read when practicing. If you love having sheet music in front of you, then you'll love the lead sheet guide. And then finally, the play-along guide, which are play-along tracks or backing tracks that are perfect for helping you to successfully play the jazz piano skill being taught in the podcast episode. For example, Harmonic Minor Modes. So if you want to develop a strong sense of internal time and proper jazz feel and articulation, then use the Jazz Piano Skills play-alongs. And again, when needed, I provide play-along tracks for all 12 keys. For example, there are a total of 84 play-along tracks for this podcast episode alone. Right? 84 play-along tracks for this podcast episode alone. I cannot stress enough how beneficial the educational podcast guides are for expediting your musical growth. Okay, on to the sixth mode of the harmonic minor scale. Starts on the A flat. If we take every other note of that mode, A flat C, E flat G, we have an A flat major 7. When we apply the mode to that, we kind of get a sharp 9 sound with that B natural, a little tension, and then a sharp 11 sound right there with that D natural. That's a great sound. Again, I rarely use that mode or that sound, but I may need to reconsider that. That's a really pretty sound. Typically, when I'm playing a sharp 11 sound, I'm using the Lydian mode from the major scales. But anyway, let's bring the ensemble in, and let's listen to the sixth mode of the harmonic minor scale, which presents us with a major sharp 11 sound and a little sharp 9 sound in there as well. So let's check it out. Let's see what we think. Nice. I'm like I said, I'm going to have to reconsider that mode, play around with that sound a little bit. Okay, now the seventh mode of the harmonic minor scale. So important, because here is where we finally discover the diminished sound. The major scales do not produce a diminished sound. The harmonic minor scale does. And this is where it comes from. Okay, the seventh mode. So if we start our C harmonic minor scale on the note B, the seventh note, if we take every other note of that mode, we get a B, D, F, A flat. There's our diminished chord. Wow. Now play the mode with that. So awesome, right? So many times students will ask, hey, wait a minute, in the major scale produces major, dominant, minor, half diminished. Where's the diminished chord? Where's the diminished sound? Well, now we know. The harmonic minor scale gives us our diminished sound. So let's bring in our ensemble. Let's check it out. Let's do the same thing. Let's play this sound from the root to the seventh and back down, keeping it very, very simple as we digest this beautiful diminished sound. We digest it conceptually, orally, and physically. Here we go. Let's check it out. cool, right? Diminished. You know, all the modes of the harmonic minor scale, they present us with major variants of our major, of our minor sounds, of our dominant sound, right? And half diminish. And now we finally get our diminished sound with the seventh mode of the harmonic minor scale. Spend some time with these modes. You're going to find them to be very invaluable. I hope you have found this Jazz Piano Skills podcast lesson, exploring harmonic minor modes, to be insightful. And of course, I hope you find it to be very beneficial for your musical growth. And don't forget, if you are a Jazz Piano Skills member, I will see you online Thursday evening at the Jazz Piano Skills Masterclass, 8 p.m. Central Time, to discuss this podcast episode lesson, exploring harmonic minor modes in much greater detail, and to answer any questions that you may have about the study of jazz in general. Also, as a Jazz Piano Skills member, be sure to use the educational podcast guides for this podcast lesson. And also check out the Jazz Piano Skills courses, right? A sequential curriculum that you have access to as well to maximize your musical growth. Likewise, make sure you are an active participant of the Jazz Piano Skills forums and the private Facebook group. Get involved, make some new jazz piano friends. As always, you can reach me by phone, 972-380-8050, extension 211, by email, drlawrence@jazzpianoskills.com, drlawrence@jazzpianoskills.com, or by SpeakPipe, found on the Jazz Piano Skills website. It's in the educational podcast guides, the Jazz Piano Skills courses, the widgets all over the place. So that's it. That's it for now. Until next week, enjoy the harmonic minor modes. Enjoy the journey. Most of all, have fun as you discover, learn, and play jazz piano.